In this unit, we're going to talk about how to use GDP to make an international comparison. Let's take an example. If we assumed that we are comparing both the Egyptian GDP and the Saudi GDP, and both countries are producing 4 loaves of bread. However, a loaf of bread in Egypt will worth 25 piastres. A loaf of bread in Saudi Arabia will be sold at 50 halalas or 0.5 Saudi riyal. If we are to calculate the GDP in Egypt, it will worth 4 times 0.25 pounds, so it totals of 1 pound. In Saudi Arabia, the Saudi GDP will worth 2 Saudi riyals. The first problem in here that I cannot compare apple to orange. I have to unify the prices between the two countries, or the currency between the two countries. So I'm going to use the exchange rate between the Saudi riyal and the Egyptian pound. So I'm going to multiply the value of the 2 riyals times the exchange rate, which is 5 pounds per Saudi riyal, and now the Saudi GDP totals 10 pounds. When I compare these numbers with the Egyptian numbers, where the GDP is only 1 pound, I can, at the first sight, I can think that the Saudi GDP is 10 times above or equals 10 times the Egyptian GDP. But the truth is, the two GDPs are the same. They are both producing 4 loaves of bread. So what shall I do? I have to unify the prices. So if I unify the prices between the two countries, maybe using a prices of a third country, I can see that the GDP for both countries is the same. So in order to calculate the GDP and make an in order to make international comparison between two countries, 2 steps has to take place. First, using the exchange rate, and second is to unify the prices. So when this happens, I'm going to reach what I call it GDP at purchasing power parity, or PPP. So whenever you find beside the statistics of the GDP the 3 letters PPP, you know that it is purchasing power parity, which I use the same exchange rate and the same prices. So using the exchange rate to compare GDP in one country with the GDP in another country is problematic because the prices are not the same, and also the exchange rate, but we already solved this problem using the PPP. Let's take another look over our 2 balls in here. We know one of them, which is the one on the right, which actually evaluate the GDP globally under the nominal GDP. And on the left, we have the GDP at the purchasing power parity, or PPP. In the ball on the right, we can see that the main, or the number 1 country with the highest production of the whole world is United States. However, when we take a look on the left, things have changed. China now is the power number 1. What happened? What does this tell us? This tells us that the production of China in terms of units is bigger than the production of the US. As when we use the prices of the US to evaluate the production of China, the Chinese production is bigger than the American production, and this actually will give us a hint of how PPP will give us more accurate picture of the economy as a whole, either for a country or for whole world. Now we are done with this unit. Longing to meet you in the coming unit.